Welcome back, guys, to another episode of Decentralized Chain is for Oz, bringing you all things blockchain. So in today's episode, we are going to be discussing oracles. So for those who don't know, oracles are a way of feeding in off-chain data into on-chain applications. Think of it as you have an exchange or a decentralized exchange that requires live data feeds, price feeds, whether it's for lending protocols, insurance protocols, derivatives. The idea is that you need trustworthy data off-chain coming in on-chain, and this is where oracles come in. Now, there are oracles out there today. There are centralized oracles that can be used, but the problem there is, I suppose, in the true sense of decentralization, a centralized oracle could be subject to malicious behavior because the data is controlled by one particular entity. So with oracles, certainly in the decentralized space, decentralized oracles is where we kind of want to head. And today we are going to be speaking to Hrishikesh, who is the CEO and founder of Razor Network and their new oracle in terms of how it compares to what we already have in this space today, because there are oracles within the DeFi space, but the main trade-off is that some are very secure and not as fast as providing data. Some are fast but not as very secure as providing data. So in the grand scheme of things, you need to come to a point where you have something that is a blend of the both, and this is where Razor is looking to ultimately be the key differentiator. Now, before we jump in and find out exactly what Hrishikesh has to say about Razor, and as always, if you like this type of content, then please don't forget to like the channel, certainly subscribe, and don't forget to hit that bell notification icon so you can find out all my upcoming episodes. And as always, there is going to be yet another $100 giveaway, so make sure you stay tuned throughout the video to find out exactly how you can enter and grab yourself some of that free crypto. We're in a boom right now, certainly in a bull market, so you know that 100 could quite easily become much more. Anyway, let's jump into the video and speak to Hrishikesh and see exactly what he has to say. So Hrishikesh, thank you for coming on the show. I appreciate how busy it is for you right now in terms of the project, everything going on, and there's lots of buzz around the community as well. But I thought it would be good for us to catch up. It would be good for our viewers to also, get a flavor for who you are actually, because I've read a lot of AMAs, text-based ones, and I suppose you get a flavor of a person from there. But nothing's better than having a face-to-face. So, welcome to the show. Glad to have you here.
Thanks for having me here, Firoz. Really glad to be here. So yeah, I can give a bit of background about myself. I'm Hrishikesh Huilgolkar, CEO, founder of Razor Network. So I grew up in India, in smaller towns, playing video games and being fascinated with computers. I've been programming since I was a teenager. I think somewhere around 15 when I started programming. So I worked, in my career, I worked with different roles. I worked as a data scientist, as a product manager, before I found out about crypto in 2015. And since then, it's been, the focus of my career, really. So I worked with different organizations as a blockchain developer. So the last company I worked for was Consensus. I worked there for around almost 2 years. So yeah, that's a little bit of background about myself.
Well, no, it's always good to see someone from the blockchain space as well, actually, and Consensus. Consensus is Consensus, right? Everyone knows about it, and if you don't, then you don't know enough about crypto, right? At the end of the day, but and you guys are actually building oracles, from my understanding, and I suppose I know what an oracle is, and I suppose for those who might not know, I mean, what's an oracle in its basic form?
Okay, sure. So, as you know, there are a lot of different applications on the blockchain, and a lot of these applications require some kind of a external data, like any kind of data from the internet. For example, if it's a DeFi application, most of the times it requires, the price of Bitcoin with relative to US dollars, or whether it's a price of any stock with respect to US dollars. So such a data is required. So these kinds of data are not available on the blockchain. These are available outside the blockchain, but blockchains do not have the ability to fetch the data from the internet. That is the basic problem that we usually call it the oracle problem. So how it is solved is we have some kind of a company or an entity which fetches that data, gets the data
Mm-hmm.
and pushes it to the blockchain.
Yep.
Um, so that person or entity is called an oracle. Um, Now the problem is that when you introduce such a person, or a company to push the data to the oracle, that becomes a security problem. It's a centralization problem. If that entity tries to cheat, if they have a malicious intent,
I could adjust the
then
pricing, send it through, and then use it as an opportunity to trade against or with in my favor, basically.
exactly
Yeah.
that can have devastating
Mm-hmm.
consequences. So that is the problem, and that's why we need to have a decentralized oracle. Um, so that is what so yeah that is what a decentralized that is
Mm-hmm.
what an oracle is. And a decentralized oracle is basically, instead of having one entity in control of pushing the data, we have a network of people from all around the world pushing the data to the blockchain. And we have to make sure that the incentives are balanced properly so that all of them are acting, or at least the majority of them are acting
Mm-hmm.
honestly and pushing the correct data.
So, in terms of actually, I would say those who want to consume that type of data. I mean, what what is it actually targeted around? Who are your consumers for this then? Because I don't think it's really going to be me as an everyday consumer. I'm just interested in buying some Bitcoin. I'm interested in buying Ethereum. But that's about as far as it goes. But who's this Oracle actually aimed for then?
So, as we have seen last at least 2 years, 2+ years, or if you can see today, the decentralized finance has been the biggest use case of the blockchain. It's almost like the only proven use case of the blockchain so far.
Mm-hmm.
um, which is, I mean, it is a good thing. We have one, very very strong use case, proven use case. And a lot of DeFi applications require external data. So we are talking about, any synthetic assets, product, any kind of exchange which requires external data, any lending protocol. So, most of the DeFi applications can require a decentralized oracle. um, and prediction markets also require, a very good secure oracle. I think they would also be in the DeFi umbrella, but they also require a very secure, decentralized oracle which cannot be manipulated.
It's interesting because there has been an advent of a number of DeFi products or platforms coming in actually focused around prediction quite recently as well. Now, interestingly enough, I mean, you certainly aren't the first players in the market. There's already a host of other oracles that have come through. I think I've had a few on the show before. Teller, to name one. DIA is actually a recent platform that's launched. There's Chainlink, which people are very familiar with, and DOS. So with so much, and I'm going to call it competition because they're oracles as well, right? All competing for the same market share that you're also looking to get into. What makes you different from the rest? Because I suppose that's what's going to drive adoption of your oracle over what we already have or what is already being built today.
Okay, sure. So, so I've analyzed quite a few of our competitors, and a lot of them have issues with the security. So we
Mm-hmm.
call it game theoretical security. Uh, so so there are different kinds of attacks that can happen on oracles. So, for example, a collusion attack where the validators collude within themselves and they push incorrect data. That's called a collusion attack.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have bribing attack where an attacker bribes the validators to push incorrect data. So there are different kinds of these attacks. We call them game theoretical attacks, and a lot of oracles that are present today are vulnerable to such attacks. They are not secure against such attacks. So the protocol has to be game theoretically secure. That is very important. If it is not secure, then it will be attacked. It will, the attacker will keep attacking them. So it's really important to be, game theoretically secure. Um, so this is what sets Razor Network apart.
Mm-hmm.
Razor Network is extremely secure and robust against all kinds of game theoretical attacks. Uh, so we do that while still being fast. which is very important for DeFi space. To give you an example, Augur is a good example.
Mm-hmm.
It's a prediction market, but it is also an oracle. Augur is extremely robust and secure, but it is not fast enough.
Yeah.
You cannot use it for DeFi applications. Um, so Razor is combining best of both worlds. We are a DeFi oracle, but we are really robust and secure. You can say as much as Augur. So that's what's really sets us apart, and I think that's what is required for to take DeFi to the next level,
Mm-hmm.
where we can see decentralized stable coins worth trillions of dollars being used for international trade or government reserve currency. Such kind of mission critical use cases require a really robust and decentralized oracle,
Mm-hmm.
and that is what Razor can handle very comfortably.
So it sounds like more like it's a middle point that you're kind of aiming for more than anything else. So some are faster but then not as secure. Some are secure but not as fast. So the idea is that you've kind of come in with a blended approach whereby you're fast and secure. So in that respect, then the idea is that should hopefully drive the adoption from somebody choosing one oracle over another. So interesting enough, obviously requires I would say a certain level of intellect involved in order to obviously build out oracles to that degree. So, and you explained about your background earlier. I'm curious about the rest of the team that make up Razor. Your co-founders. I mean, what are they sort of notable for in this space?
So I'm the only founder of the Razor network.
Okay.
So
that's a start.
Yeah. So we have quite passionate team. We just recently raised our seed round, so
Okay.
we are very expanding really fast. We have pretty good developers. A lot of them have won hackathons in this space, so they are very extremely passionate and they understand the technology in a lot of depth. So yeah, it's a very young, passionate team to build this product.
So, and that's the team, and like all projects or platforms or businesses, however you want to define it in this space, you also have advisors, right, that are with you on the journey to either help build or provide knowledge and advice. So I'm curious in terms of who are some of your advisors that are also working with you.
So yeah, we have some really good advisors, and our investors are also active advisors. We have chosen them very carefully so that they are adding the strong value as advisors. So we have Chirdeep, who was the founder of Ocean Protocol. So he's been very, very useful and a guiding light for us. And we also have Vincent Eli. So he was ex MetaMask. He founded Variable, and he has PhD in decision theory. So from a research perspective, we get very valuable insights from him. To really make sure we are achieving our goal.
So I think persistence is sort of involved with persistence as well.
Yes. So Tushar Agarwal, who is the CEO founder of Persistence, he's our investor. We also have some really interesting angel investors. So for example, we have Mariano Conti, who was the ex head of Oracles at Maker.
Okay.
He probably created the first ever Oracle in production. So he's also a very strong, it's a very strong endorsement, you can say, to have him on board and also advise us in our journey.
I wasn't aware of that one actually, so that's actually new to me. So that's interesting to know. So I mean, we've spoken a fair bit about the team and the project. I'm curious in terms of your roadmap for success, because you do have an Oracle built. This isn't just a white paper project from what I understand, right?
Yes, so Razor has been in research and development since almost 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
We do have a testnet live. Um, and yeah, we are just working towards the mainnet launch. So we are planning to do a mainnet launch early next year.
Mm-hmm.
And before that, we will also announce most likely a incentivized testnet to get the community participation and to make sure everything is secure and
Mm-hmm.
working as intended.
So interesting. So you've got mainnet next year. So let's talk a bit about the actual capital and token, sort of the tokenomics behind here, actually, because I'm sure our viewers are eager to know. There are those who follow it for the tech, and there are those who follow it for price fluctuations. Is what I'm going to say. So in terms of where we are, pre-sale, seed round, they're all done or they're to come? Is there a public sale to come? Where do we stand with all this?
So our private rounds are over. So
Mm-hmm.
we raised around $3.7 million from some really prominent investors
Yep.
in the space.
Mm-hmm.
So to give a few names, we have NGC Ventures, we have Alameda Research,
Okay.
um, we have Borderless Capital
Mm.
and Spark Digital Capital. So we have some really, prominent investors in the space. Um, so the protocol has a native token called Razor token. The Razor token is our proof of stake token. You need to stake this token in order to become a validator in the
Mm-hmm.
network. And in the future, it can have more use cases like for governance. We can use this token. Um, so the detailed tokenomics and public sale date we will announce shortly.
Mm.
So I think you should follow us on our social media to keep up to date
I'm sure
about the
people
latest on
will
that.
eagerly. In
Yes.
terms of when you mentioned that, one of the token use cases is obviously in order to be a validator, you need to stake it. What then? I'm curious. What then happens with that token itself? I mean, you stake it, you become a validator. Great, you provide reliable source of information, i.e., being the Oracle. But what happens if they don't to the staked tokens? Is there like a penalization, or I suppose I'm curious as to how that token plays into that.
So yes, so penalization is actually it's quite critical part of the proof of stake consensus.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the other oracles ignore that part and they have, reputational, some kind of a reputation which changes, they don't give a strict penalty. I think that is not a very secure approach. So we have strict penalties if in case of any malicious behavior from the stakers. So
Mm-hmm.
we have slashing penalties on the stakers uh, in case of misbehavior. So yes, but if they behave honestly, then obviously they will be getting the transaction fees, but they will be also getting the block reward, um, which is given out in every block of the
Mm-hmm.
oracle. So yeah, the I think the rewards quite you know uh, rewards are quite attractive. The penalty will is not something that the stakers need to be worried about unless they are acting maliciously.
Okay, and if we kind of look at the ongoing sustainment of the project, because you mentioned you've had a raise round, you've been in build for certainly the last couple of years. What what happens when the money runs out? How do you maintain the project going forward? How do you continue to grow it?
Yes, so yeah, we have quite a comfortable runway for a few years, so
Mm-hmm.
it's not something that we have to worry about in any time in the future, anytime in the near future. Uh, we do have 18% of the total supply as a company reserve that we can use for different activities such
Okay.
as giving grants, providing liquidity to the market, and if we are running out of funds, then that can also be potentially be used to fund further runway. But that is something we are not looking at all for the next at least 3 to 4 years.
Okay. So plenty left to help develop
Yes,
and
definitely.
deliver, basically. Now, interestingly enough, I mean, as with all projects in this space, community, it's a big thing. It's what I think fundamentally drives the success of projects. You can easily bring them up and bring them down just as quick, right? So I'm curious, how does the Razor community play a part? Ultimately in your development, in your roadmap, I suppose, as well.
Yes, community aspect is really important. We have a pretty sizable community, very passionate about the project. They have been since with us, since a long time. So, we have some, community engagement activities which we do regularly. Moving forward, when our token is released, there will be some really exciting things coming up,
Mm-hmm.
that will be coming up. So which will involve token. For example, there could be, as I said, incentivized testnet,
Yep.
um, where the community, all of the community can get involved and participate as a staker and, get rewarded for their contribution. There will be many such activities. Um, so community is something we give a lot of priority, and
Mm-hmm.
we make sure they are always rewarded and engaged for being part of a journey.
It's good. It's good. I mean, it's important more than anything else. I think in any project is the community and making sure that they stay with you for the journey, not just the sale. So it's interesting. I'd certainly be looking forward to see exactly how that pans out. Well, look, I think we've got to the we've got to the stage where thank you for your time. Thank you for going through everything. It's good to see you've got community at the heart of what you also want to do to kind of move forward. And I wish you all the success in this space because it is competitive. Certainly where you're coming in at. But as soon as you have a testnet in place, it'd be great to see exactly how some of that analysis and output comes out from there. In terms of staying in touch with the latest and greatest, where do our viewers need to go?
Yes, thanks for having me here. So please follow us on Twitter and Telegram. If you could put the links in the
Yeah,
description,
they'll
that would
they'll be
be.
all be down below. Yeah, definitely. Excellent.
Yes, so we are very active on Twitter and Telegram. We hope to see you all there, and really, appreciate you having me here. Would be happy to come again.
Yeah, definitely,
Maybe,
definitely.
yes, maybe when we are near the launch, it will be great to have.
No, sounds good. Well,
Great to be
look,
here.
Hrishikesh, thank you so much for your time today, taking us through Razor, and to the viewers out there, if you want to know more, links are down below, and see you on the next one.